Hello boys and girls. Today I actually want to have a chatty conversation. I really haven't done any of this. I'm so sweaty, it's really warm in my room. But I really haven't had this like a sit down conversation in a while. And with the recent news about Meghan Markle, I'm sure she's made very similar discoveries, because Sweetie was literally out here, you know, like living in a really nice, strawberry, fantastic land, swimming in just, I am biracial and I am so sorry for everybody else who has to deal with racial oppression. Wow, that must be so sad. Oh my god, I am so sorry.
It's the first role you ever auditioned for.
Hot girl number one in A Lot Like Love with Ashton Kutcher.
Did you get it?
Yes.
And obviously she got married to, what's his name again, Harry, and the British press was just like,
not on my watch. Not on my watch.
But I really want to talk about this because I feel like there's a lot of shock that can come with thinking that you were something else in terms of race, and then going into I guess maybe like a country or wherever else, and then realizing, okay, I guess I'm not. And the one person who talks about this so much is Chimamanda. Chimamanda had so many interviews where I remember the first one that I watched where she talked about how she became black in America.
I identify very happily now as black, but I didn't always, because I became black in America. When I went to the US to go to university, I realized, oh, I'm suddenly something else called black. And it's not to say that I didn't know that my skin is the glorious color of chocolate, but it's that, which I wouldn't change for anything, by the way, but it's that idea that there's meaning attached to skin color in certain parts of the world. And I had come from Nigeria where really skin color didn't have meaning. Ethnicity had meaning, religion had meaning. And then to come to the US and to be in class and to write an essay which the professor said, who wrote this? This is the best essay. And I raised my hand and he looked surprised. And it was a very small, fleeting moment. And it was maybe my 4th week in the US. But that's when I realized to be black is to have people make certain assumptions, that you cannot write the best essay, for example, that you need extra help with schoolwork, for example.
And I was like, nobody has ever talked about this before. Nobody has ever explained this before. Nobody has ever given me this insight before, because I just thought it was just me who was feeling the same way that I was feeling. She talked about how the moments where she realized that she was black, but that there was something different about her was when, I think this was in uni, and she got the best essay in class, and then the lecturer asked, oh, who is this person? And then when she identified herself, there was a little bit of a shock, because it was just like, oh, like I didn't expect, you know, the best essay to come from somebody who looks like you. And I think that's definitely a lot of what I experienced, but this video isn't even about any of that. It's really just understanding racial identity and understanding what in the world is race and which box of it that I fit into, because I feel like I definitely was very ignorant of race. I was incredibly ignorant of race, like before I moved to the UK. And as much as you watch some stuff in movies, and you know, I had some understanding. Like I watch a lot of like Black American movies about like oppression of Black Americans. I didn't really understand why they were being oppressed. I mean, I just thought, you know, it was a thing about specifically just Americans, and maybe because they were enslaved, and obviously that judgmentalness just carried on. I never thought that would ever in this life extrapolate to myself in a way. I always thought it was very specific to wherever that was happening and wherever that was going on. Like in my mind, I was very young, but in my mind, like I never really understood that, okay, this is something that can happen to me. Like this is something that I can literally face as well, because in my mind I was just so far removed. And I'm trying to think now, like I obviously never referred to myself as black. Like in Nigeria, black is everybody. Racially, everybody is black in Nigeria. My mom, my dad, my sister, my cousin, my teacher, everybody, the entire population of people. Occasionally you find a foreigner. If you live in somewhere, you know, where you might find 1 or 2 people who are not black. If you go into like highbrow areas, you might find people who are obviously not black, like foreigners who are maybe working or I don't know, just existing there. But everybody, like it's one of the most populous black nations in the world, Nigeria, so everybody's black. And another thing is that I am a little bit light-skinned, hopefully not too. 2 people have called me pale this week, so I don't know how I feel about that. But anyway, like I'm a little bit light-skinned. I never actually got referred to as black when I was growing up. Like, I referred to other people as black because it's literally skin color. So another thing actually that I discovered recently is that people who are from East Asia, so like Chinese and I think maybe East and Southeast, I would say. So Chinese and maybe some people from like Chinese, Hong Kong, those type of areas, Japan, Southeast, like Thailand and all that kind of area. I believe that they're called yellow. Or maybe it's just Chinese, I don't know. But I know there's certain people from that part of Asia who were called yellow. And when I found that, I was so confused the first time. Like, I was like, what do you mean by yellow? Because when I grew up, I was referred to as yellow. So in Nigeria, like whenever you refer to people like, oh, that yellow girl, me, or that black guy, nowadays I feel like maybe people say dark skinned a little bit more. I think maybe it just depends on your circle. But if I'm going to a market, nobody's saying dark skinned in the market, black. So confusing when I was just like, oh, there's people here who are called yellow, and that yellow is actually a race, not just literally their skin color. But I didn't remember when I moved to the UK, I think the most identity that I had was Nigerian. So I would say, oh, I'm Nigerian. And even Nigerian, I think I say that a little bit more now. I thought people maybe wouldn't know where Nigeria was. So I'd always say like, oh, like I'm African, I'm from West Africa, maybe something like that. But I never referred to myself as African because I never left Africa. I was in Africa all the time. So why would I ever like refer to myself as African? I never referred to myself as Nigeria because I never left Nigeria. I was in Nigeria all the time. I never really had conversations with people outside of Nigeria who were like non-Nigerians. So me and my friends could never have a conversation on Nigerianness because we were, I don't know, maybe I was just ignorant, but I don't know. But yeah, so it was very interesting then coming here from all of that and just being an Igbo girl. So Igbo is how am I saying it weird? Igbo. I actually don't know, is it Igbo or Igbo? But yeah, I'm Igbo from like the southeast of Nigeria. And that was my identity. Like whenever I take the form in Nigeria, whenever I fill the form or anything, my ethnicity in that form was Igbo. Very simple. My state, oh, Imo, maybe at most the only different thing is that maybe I'll say my state, oh, I'm from Imo, or people who are from Anambra or like another state to say this is where they're from. So then going for my identity, which is like a lot more close to me in terms of that it's a coalition of people that are right there with me, that I'm from. Like everybody around me, a lot of people around me were Igbo. Like I was going back home is like a 2-hour trip away from where I grew up, and it's also close knit to who I am, I guess, in a way. But I don't know, arguable. But anyway, that's a different conversation. But anyway, and then going from that to then being moved from being Igbo to now being in a place where Igbo meant nothing to anybody, and now having this identity or this umbrella identity of being black, and then all of a sudden having that shift of going from, oh, that's Igbo girl to that black girl was like, oh, what is that? And so I went on a little bit of like a journey, so to speak, of trying to understand what black was. A lot of times, like I think there's a lot of, and I think Chimamanda talked about this as well, when you understand your blackness comes always from a negative experience. It never comes from, I don't know, in my experience anyway, it's never come from something good. It's always been like some type of stereotype or someone saying something or feeling a certain type of way that I was just different. And I remember someone who I was having a conversation with like a long time ago, and the guy was like, oh, like because I think we were talking about veganism and being vegetarian, and I said that, oh, I don't think I can become vegetarian because I like chicken too much. And he was like, oh, that is such a black thing, like he was so black. And I was so confused because I was like, I didn't even grow up eating chicken. If you ask my parents or people around me who I grew up with what their favorite, nobody really obsessed with chicken as I guess people here actually are. There's so many chicken shops in the UK, so like it was so confusing to me where this place that I've eaten the most chicken. Chicken was a privilege, like it was Christmas food, occasionally Easter, or when someone is in a good mood. Like, so going from chicken being like a treat to being where everybody eats chicken all the time and I'm eating the most chicken, you're now telling me that me because I like chicken, or I think chicken is nice, that I'm It was so confusing. I remember another moment as well was one of my lecturers in uni was an Indian guy. I think that's right. Yeah, he was Indian, but he was really dark skinned. So you have a lot of Indians and people from that part of the world or that part of Asia who can be really, really dark skinned. And like he was like, my dad, I think, is like the most he's the most dark skinned person in my nuclear family, and this guy was like a lot darker than my dad, which honestly I think dark skinned Asians are beautiful. I'm just gonna say that. Okay, never mind, let's move on. So yeah, I then remember thinking to myself that how is he not black? Like, it was a very, and I think I was thinking of it in such a rational way where if you're saying someone is black, they have to be close to that skin color. So I didn't understand that there is something outside of this skin color, the skin color also, but I'm not physically black. So there definitely has to be something outside of this skin color that makes people black, because if it's just skin color, then I'm not black and he is. But then he's not, I don't know what race you would say people who are from that part of the world are. There's a lot of race as well, which doesn't make sense. I guess that's why me just being very like, okay, like +1 + 1 = 2. I was so confused and I'm like, that makes no sense. But race in general is a social construct, and it changes so much depending on where you are. I remember one time when like someone was explaining how they were in this company and they were talking about their experience as a minority in the company. I say, what does minority mean? And it was so funny because like everyone else I was listening to the conversation, like, and she was like, oh, us as minority women. So like me inside the us, I was like, oh, is anybody else confused or is it just me? But everyone else was listening so intently, like yeah, like you get it. And I was like, oh, okay, how does that work? Because I'm a bit baffled. Because I'm not from a minority tribe in Nigeria, so and even people who are from minority tribes, I don't think we use minority as now an identity. I don't think anybody would ever say use us minority people as an identity, whereas in the UK they do. So when she was like us minority women, I was so confused anyway, because me, my Nigerian man is like moi, minority, makagini. And because I thought it was a negative thing, I thought minority means being less than, or being being less than, really. So I was just like, why would you want to say that about yourself? Why would you want to put yourself down like that? Like, you're not minority, you're a whole person, you're this, you're that. And so yeah, that was so confusing for me as well. And there was so many things that I was just so absolutely baffled about. I was just so confused. But a lot of, I think, people's understanding, mine included actually, of race comes from the US. And I grew up in Nigeria, and a lot of people in Nigeria listen to hip-hop. I like hip-hop. I didn't really like rap actually. I think I started liking rap a little bit more in my teenage years, and just before I moved from Nigeria. I always say I had a crush on Lil Wayne. I know people find that crazy, but like I really liked rap because of Lil Wayne's Soulja Boy era, like of rap, rather than like OG rap. But like I was like, okay, so does black mean I listen to music from that part of the world, or maybe if I listen to reggae? But I didn't even like reggae that much. Maybe I liked 1 or 2 Lucky Dube songs, and like, what's the other guy's name? I said Naira Marley. God, not Naira Marley. Was it Mali? God, Mali? Oh my God, what's the Mali? Gosh, you know Mali, the main Mali, not the other Naira Marley. But yeah, maybe 1 or 2, but I didn't really, it wasn't like, oh, I was such a massive fan. So I was really so struggling to understand, like, where is this blackness? What does that mean? Because for me, when I say I am this, I want to understand what that means. One of the biggest discoveries that I actually made was just the simple fact that race and ethnicity are 2 different things. Subtle differences, but very, very important. And that changed, honestly, that changed the game for me, and it cleared up so much that I was just so confused about. So I'm gonna try and read it because I tried to Google it, so I am very on point with what I'm saying. Okay, this is from Oxford Dictionary, and it says ethnicity is a noun. It's the fact or state of belonging to a social group that has a common national or cultural tradition. Especially like cultures, like language, like where are you from, what's your language? So my language is Igbo, for example. Is there a black language? What is that? How do I speak it? Where do I learn? What exactly is it? And this was why it was so confusing. And then I went from that to, I couldn't really find any specific definitions of race, but like this one that I found. In other words, race is often perceived as something that's inherent in our biology and therefore inherited across generations. And then they said ethnicity, on the other hand, is typically understood as something we acquire or self-ascribe based on factors of where we live or the culture we share with others. And so this is so important, because I then made sort of like the discovery that my race is black because I have African ancestry. I guess in this context of race, because race is so different depending on where you live in. And what's his name? Oh, there was a book review that I did. Oh my god, the British guy, this is so terrible. Why We All Need, what's the name of that book? Natives, sorry, Akala, there we go, Natives by Akala, where he talked about how race is a social construct, because he, in Brazil, I think he was not classed as black because he was fairer skinned. Oh no, he was classed as black in Brazil, sorry, because he was fairer skinned. But then in South Africa, he wasn't. He was colored. But it's such a construct, and it's a little bit fluid. But in the UK, we don't have, in my opinion anyway, we don't have a black culture. And even if that exists, I didn't fit into that because I'm not from here. And I remember like even like hanging out with people who were black from the UK, and there's a lot of culture and British culture obviously that I did not know. I was like, this is confusing, what is going on? I only just recently discovered who J-Horse is, so this is how bad it is, because I didn't even know. Skepta, who is that? Is that a drink? What's going on? Like, so there's so many things that I guess are part of like black British culture that you can say, but I wasn't aware of that because I'm not British. My understanding of race comes from the fact that I have a lot of shared, I don't even know, I think unfortunately, like when I was thinking of this video, I was trying to explain how I understand blackness now, and I don't think I do enough. So if you have any thoughts, let me know. But I know that there is some commonality, and I can't quite place a lot of it. And I must admit, there are lots of, sometimes it's not even necessarily shared with everybody who's black, because there's some black people who just can't relate. You know, maybe they grew up in a different culture, they might be adopted, they might not. Do you know what I mean? So there is some, in some cases, that commonality doesn't exist, but I believe that there is something, I don't know what it is, and I can't put a name on it, that is mutually understood between myself and other black, which is another thing actually. I remember when I did my placement, I remember my friend literally was calling me about the job, like, oh, this is when I first started the job. It's like a massive, one of the biggest like car manufacturers in the UK. I was working on one of their sites, and my friend was like, oh, like, are there a lot of black people on the sites? There's like at least 2,000 people working on the sites. And I was like, I don't know, I didn't check, what's my business, I don't care. I literally was just like, because in my mind, like, race was just not, it just was not there. Like I wasn't walking around thinking, oh, like there's black people here, there's not. I didn't really care, because yet again, everybody that I grew up around was black. So for me, it wasn't a distinctive feature for me to, oh, maybe there was someone Igbo or maybe someone Nigerian, I would have been like, where are you from, that kind of stuff. But like, I never cared if there was other people there who were black, because for me, blackness was not an identity, and simply because you are dark-skinned and exist in this company does not mean I should care about you. This was in my mind. Whereas now, the other day, I was literally in my kitchen and I can see like a pub outside my house, and I literally was like people watching, and I saw like 2 black women go past. I was like, oh my god, there's black people here, oh my god. So it's crazy how there's such a massive change. In a way, I think that's good, in a way not so good, because I love that, what's the word for it? I love how much in Nigeria that a lot of who you are is a bit, yeah, there's obviously tribalism and all of that stuff, but it's a little bit close to you, rather than just this aloof, to me, what seemed like an aloof, you know, a general umbrella that was just being passed on to a lot of people. And so I really appreciated how I saw people for something that was probably a lot more closer to them. And I think, yeah, race is definitely something that was made up to be used as a weapon rather than as a good thing. So yeah, I still don't, like I was saying, I still don't understand a lot of what blackness means, and I think that's okay, but I know that there is something that is shared. Like if I see someone who's out and about, like I'll never forget when me and my sisters went to China, and literally the last day before we were leaving Beijing, We saw these, I think there were 3 black Americans. We're like, oh my god, hi, hello, like 3 black girls who were so excited. And we obviously are from different countries. We don't have similar culture. We have nothing, you know, in that sort of perspective. Nothing tangible, that's the word for it, nothing tangible in common per se. But there was an understanding of like, and so that's all that I can say. I still can't really piece it of what it is. And that's why it's so important to understand that there's a difference, because it's not my ethnicity. And on Twitter, I know that people, there's like so many fights about like America, like black Americans saying that people who are black elsewhere are not really black. And I kind of get it, because like I said, there's a difference between ethnicity and race. And with ethnicity, you need to have a certain shared language. You need to have a certain shared food. You need to have a shared, there's something that's shared, that's more cultural. And if you look at blackness and, you know, within the context of the UK, what is that? What is the food that we share? What, jerk chicken? But jerk chicken is not even my food. I just like it because it tastes good. Same way that I like, you know, chow mein. So it's not our thing, you know, it's Jamaicans or Caribbeans, is their thing. And there's so many different pockets of black people in the UK, and I guess we all have the understanding of, there's a bit more closer connection to our roots than unfortunately, you know, black Americans have. And so yeah, like I said, ethnicity is a lot more closer to who you are in terms of culture, language, traditions, and all of that kind of stuff, whereas race is a little bit more broader and almost in some certain cases has been a bit more close linked to biology. So I know I'm black because I have African ancestry. I mean African ancestry, not like the ones that's, anyway, we're not going to talk about that. Deep African ancestry, you know, like thousands of years, not, yeah, anyway. We move on. But yeah, so I have African ancestry and I have black features, you know. Yes, I might not be completely dark skinned. That's another thing as well, where a lot of people don't understand that there are people who are West African, who are sub-Saharan African, who look like me. And a lot of times I've had people almost like inferring that, oh, you know, maybe there was like some mixed person in your family, or there's some, no, that we just look like this. And there's a lot of people who, where I'm from, look like me. But obviously for a lot of people who are from here, they don't know that, because you've only probably seen 10 Nigerians in your entire life. So how would you know what Nigerians look, other than just what you've seen in the few people that you've experienced? So yeah, that was my learning. And when I did the census this year, actually, I selected other as my ethnicity. I was like, yep, nope, sorry. I selected other, and then I remember they were like, oh, type in what it is, and I typed in Igbo, because that's what my language is. That's what, although I don't speak it unfortunately, but that's what my language is. That's what my food, you know, that's what it is. That's what my culture is. That's the most culture that I have, that I share with people. And there's always such a notion to say, oh, like for me especially, because I've never I've never left Nigeria like until I moved to the UK, and it's only recently that I've started going to other African countries. So in my chest, I could never say with my chest, oh, in Africa, because I've only been to Nigeria. So if you've only been to Zimbabwe, which is where you're from and where your family's from, if you've only been to Morocco, if you've only been to Kenya, how can you then say, oh, Africans? How does that statement work? So there's a lot of umbrella terms. That's why I also didn't feel comfortable with the identity of being African. But I am African. But it doesn't mean so much to me in terms of, there isn't a common language, there isn't a common food. Okay, yes, maybe fair enough, we have fufu. But I went to Tanzania and I saw the fufu they were eating, and it was not the same fufu as my own fufu. The fufu was different. I was just like, I don't, this is not Nigerian fufu. So there's a lot of similarities, and I talked about this in my video. If you haven't watched it, you should go and watch it. There's a lot of similarities, obviously, but it's not enough for it to be my identity. But identity, I believe in a way, is fluid, you know. Give it how many thousands of years ago, if you draw my family tree, maybe the person who was there never thought they were Igbo, and now here I am saying I'm Igbo, and that's what I know. But I think it was so important to me as well to make that distinction between race and ethnicity in my mind. I'm racially black, but I'm not ethnically black. I am racially black and I am ethnically Igbo, because even if I do have children, like even, you know, in the UK, am I going to tell them, what am I going to tell them? So that was the closest thing to me. And I remember my friend telling me that her mom, like, they moved here I think when she was a little bit younger, and like she wasn't born here, but she moved here when she was, you probably know who you are now, 5. But I remember her telling me that her mom, when she in the house, would tell her, her mom, maybe I'm even mixing up the stories, but I remember someone telling me that their parents told them that when you go outside, you are Igbo. That's who you are. You're Nigerian, you're Igbo. Because that is such a close, and we're so lucky, you know, to have that. Because a lot of people don't, you know. And I think the black identity might mean, in my opinion, a little bit more to people who, like in the Caribbean, like in South America, and the people who, South and North America, you know, black Americans, for example, in the US, people who don't have any other roots, who their culture, literally, like black Americans had to form their own culture, which is absolutely beautiful, because they came from so many different places and they came together and made something just based off of a common, ugly and somehow beautiful history. So that's why black Americans, you can see, they have their foods. I don't know that much about it, but I heard cornbread is nice, and chitlins and grits, and all of that. They have maybe a common language, not necessarily language, but maybe a certain way that they speak. There's a whole thing about black scent. But yeah, people will then apply that to someone like me who's black in the UK, which I guess in a way, actually, I can kind of see how people can do black scents in the UK, because that's such a thing where I see kids who want to seem like they're cool, so they, you know, try and sound a certain way. I'm just like, what are you doing? So yeah, these are my discoveries, but I think I'm happy with where I am at the moment with that identity of I'm Igbo, I'm black, and that's what it is. I use definitely like say, oh, I'm black in so many contexts, because there's so many contexts where it's very relevant. I can't really think of any right now, but I know that this where I'm saying, oh, like I'm a black person in this company or in this whatever, and so my experience is different. But it's always where it's, I don't know, it's always something, not necessarily always bad, but it's where I'm trying to say that we're not living the same life, you know what I mean? I just want to say actually as well that whenever I was referring to in this video about, you know, like, oh, I'm not black, it's not because, you know how there's some people who have some small knots lost in their heads. I've seen some video of some girl on Dr. Phil who was with her full chest, the girl was saying, I'm not black.
If I've been white since the day I've been born, then I'm still white now, and I will be white every day I wake up. Most definitely. There's nothing out here that can change my opinion.
I say, my dear sister, So it's not like that. It's not one of those denial type of things. It's literally understanding what that meant. And where I was saying that, oh, I'm not black because I'm not dark skinned, it's just because that's simply what I knew. And for me, there wasn't even any connotation. It's just black is equal to skin color. That's it. Not any of these different things. So yeah, black is beautiful. We're not, that's on period, okay? But yeah, I think even talking about Meghan Markle, I remember, I think it was my sister actually who said this, shout out to you, but she was saying that, you know, your identity isn't, I guess, around Meghan Markle, and how like the British press was like, no, this is who you are, you think you're this biracial girl who can be white passing all her life, and then you can come in here and marry our prince. They probably didn't say that, but they kind of did though. I think I don't think you should accept anyone else's identity. I think you need to decide what your own is, and that's it. Everybody else accepts it or they don't, but that's their problem. Especially when it comes to race, that's my personal opinion. Because me saying that I'm Igbo, people be like, oh, you don't think you're black? No, I am racially black, but my ethnicity is Igbo, and that's on period. Okay, that's full stop. Bonquem. I think I said this briefly earlier, but like about like black people saying to black people in the US saying to other black people that they're not really black. I don't argue. I'm just there like, I accept, or me, I remove myself. I 100% hand on heart accept I am not. Inside the race is where I am, that ethnicity, I don't follow, I beg. I'm just like, I beg, I don't even want trouble. And I understand that, because, and then you see British people, black British people in the UK arguing with them, argue. It's so funny, because I feel like there needs to be an understanding that black can be an ethnicity, and black can be and is a race. Some people who are ethnically black also racially black, but some people who are racially black, like myself, I'm not ethnically black. There is black culture, and black culture as an ethnicity can be different. So there is black ethnicity in the US, there can be black ethnicity in Brazil, there can be black ethnicity in the Caribbean, but black ethnicity is very different, and people need to understand that. So yeah, I really want to know actually, what is your definition of blackness, if you are black. And you know, actually I was watching a video where someone was saying like maybe other races don't really have as much, there's not as much discussion around it, you know, as we do black people. I don't know, maybe tell me, chat to me in the comments. But yes, thank you so much for watching this video, and I shall see you somewhere in this space sometime soon.